Hi, I'm Tyler. As you read in the title, today we'll talk about a very special topic, narcissism. We'll go through the types I've classified over the years, the strategies they use, and most importantly, how to recognize them and protect yourself. You already know me. By the age of 13, I was already studying psychology, which allowed me to observe dynamics that most people barely notice. I spent years observing behaviors that at first seem harmless, but actually hide real emotional control strategies. The term narcissism comes from the Greek myth of Narcissus, the young man who fell in love with his own reflection in the water. He was so obsessed with his beauty that he couldn't look away until he completely wasted away. Thanks to Sigmund Freud, one of the greatest psychoanalysts, this concept became central in modern psychology. Freud understood that narcissism wasn't just superficial vanity, but a deep mechanism of the human psyche, a way to protect oneself from insecurities and vulnerabilities. Now let's talk about the inexperienced or ignorant narcissist. This type operates on a superficial and direct level. At first glance, they may seem very confident, sometimes arrogant or showy. They often seek attention openly. They tell you about their achievements, boast about their work, their intelligence, or their skills. They may seem noisy or even irritating, but their strategy is simple: gain admiration without worrying about hiding their flaws. You might notice them. They know you know, but they don't care. Their techniques are so basic, they almost border on simple megalomania. Then there's the experienced or informed narcissist, the darker side of the phenomenon. This type is cunning. At first glance, they may appear kind, empathetic, almost caring. They seem interested in your feelings, listen closely, and make small gestures that make you feel special. Every action is calculated. Often they grow up in complicated families, and even as children develop strategies to fill an emotional void, seeking power and control over others. They devour psychology books, observe human dynamics, and create their own techniques. They don't use classic gaslighting, but systems so refined that you can't connect the dots. When you start suspecting something, they've already changed the narrative 3 moves ahead. For those who don't know, the term gaslighting comes from the 1944 film Gaslight. In the movie, a husband psychologically manipulates his wife by dimming the gaslights in the house, then denying it. He makes her feel crazy, convincing her that she's losing touch with reality. Here's a practical example to explain the difference between inexperienced and experienced narcissists. Imagine cooking dinner for your partner. The inexperienced narcissist openly criticizes everything. This is too salty. The pasta is overcooked. You can't cook at all. Slowly, through constant direct criticism, you start to believe it. The experienced narcissist, however, is much more subtle. They might say, "For your first time cooking this dish, it's not bad," with just a slight hint of sarcasm. Then they add, "Maybe next time I can give you some tips if you want." They make you feel insecure without ever criticizing you directly. You can't accuse them of anything because technically it's a compliment. But the hidden message is clear: you're not good enough. Another very common technique is love bombing. It works like this. The manipulator floods you with messages, gifts, and attention, making you feel like the most special person in the world. Then suddenly, they disappear for days or become cold and distant. A 2016 study confirms this technique is often used by individuals with high narcissism and low self-esteem. In psychology, we also distinguish between overt and covert narcissists. The overt narcissist is the one everyone recognizes: showy, overly confident, demeaning toward others. At first glance, they appear dominant, confident, sometimes arrogant. The covert narcissist instead seems vulnerable, shy, insecure. They present themselves as victims of circumstances, but beneath this fragile mask lies extreme egocentrism. Recognizing a narcissist isn't easy, but awareness is your most powerful weapon. When you notice these signals, pause and reflect. Trust your instincts. Here's a brief summary of what you've learned today. You've seen that not all narcissists are the same, that some behaviors are obvious and some are subtle, and that knowing how to recognize them can truly protect you. And if this topic caught your interest, a very interesting video is coming soon. We'll talk about how to attract women, with practical tips for men and insights that will also catch the attention of female viewers. Stay tuned, because it will be content unlike anything you've seen before, full of strategies and practical ideas. And always remember, one click can change your life.